So Paul, after the pitch, let's move on to the process a bit. So a producer pitches, you like the concept. You know, what happens next between the pitch moment and the ultimate green light? How does H2 respond to pitches? Just briefly, I know it's a complicated process.
Yeah, but I'll give you one specific thing that I think it's important to remember, and sort of a suggestion when pitching. It's always great to bring in a project, an idea that's in progress, and that's a conversation about where the project is going, as opposed to, this is exactly what I want to air in this form, will you buy it? Because what it signals is that you're willing to work as a partner creatively to make it work for this particular outlet. So what happens after the pitch is a lot of creative back and forth. Everything from formatting to titling to packaging, and what to add, what to cut out. But that's a creative partnership that happens, which is why it's so important to position yourself as a partner showing a work in progress, as opposed to a seller with a product.
And do you have a group meeting that signs off like once a month, or you know, how often does your development team actually meet to greenlight projects?
We meet weekly, but we try to avoid decisions by committee. Especially with a network like H2, we have to be nimble. So it's a very quick decision with one meeting whether we can move forward or not. That's a benefit to producers, and it's important for us. I think there's nothing that curbs the quality of the project more than consensus with a big group. I think that for us, it happens quickly after one meeting.
All right, so it's a quick turnaround for you. What about ZDF for you?
Well, it certainly depends on the project. If we sort of have a multi-episode, high-value project which sort of needs special programming, usually the decision would take a little bit longer than what we would do for our weekly documentary show, which means for the weekly slot, we sort of sit together each and every week and make a decision on what we buy, what we commission, what we want to produce, what kind of topic we do. And for the big formats, everybody knows if you go into co-production, that needs a lot of time, and you won't be doing that within a week. Once the decision is made that the company wants to get in with the pitch, then usually it takes time to find co-production companies, and it takes time to put up the contracts. So all of that takes time. It needs a lot of patience. But it's usually worthwhile, because if you're working with different countries, different networks, it's a wonderful experience to sort of see a topic not only from a German angle, but from an international angle, to see what the interests of other networks are. And so I always have the feeling that from each and every co-production, I learn a lot.
So just quickly to clarify, Paul, your projects are 100% A&E owned projects? They're 100% work for hire commissions, or there are some co-pros in the mix?
That's the model we attempt to meet, but we do some occasional...
Some exceptions. Yeah. Okay. Jennifer, thank you.
We are, for my slot, which is CNN Presents, certainly an important actual distinction I have with my colleagues here is that most of what CNN puts on the air is reported, developed, and produced in-house because it's the news. So the material that comes from outside is a much smaller part of the pie. But I am collaborative in the process throughout, and we'll work with you as a partner in developing the film or the special. we have, the needs of our brand are such that we have to be consistently sure that the journalism or the storytelling is solid. That doesn't mean you can't have an opinion, be edgy and aggressive. All those things are okay. We just have to be sure that we stand on solid ground with what we're producing. And the result is that I will partner with you and be with you on your film, and there may be things that we need that are different from what you may normally have thought of to include. Our process is generally very fast. We don't have group meetings because I'm the whole group right here. And you know, I generally feel like I know it when I see it. Then I have to vet it through my own process, standards, legal. If it's a medical show, I'll go to those beat reporters, make sure it all holds.
Thanks, Jennifer. A team of one. How many hours a year do you greenlight?
Probably 30.
Wow, it's a lot of work.
It's fun.
David, you're a team of what, 3?
Yeah, about that. And in having worked at a larger network where a lot was done by committee, it's very liberating to have a very small group. You know, the key person for our development is Chris Herzl, whom a lot of you will know. Really excellent development person. And Chris and I work very closely together. The decision-making process, I mean, ultimately, I will decide whether we're doing something, but it is very collaborative. And rather like Paul said, we have a policy that anyone on our team can be your conduit into our channel. Because it's certainly my experience that I frequently get it wrong. You know, I'll drag my feet over a proposal, just not speaking to me. One of my other colleagues will see something in it that I've missed, and they will champion it. And from my point of view, if I see someone on my staff championing someone's proposal, that makes me start to sit up. I may push back a bit. I may ask them some questions that I need answering. But the fact that someone else on a team feels passionately about something is very important to me, because I feel that we all bring something different to our channels. That's a huge benefit. But our actual process, I think, is pretty quick. We don't have a massive number of people that had to make decisions whether we're going to move ahead. Once we get into a proposal, we ask for a lot of information, and so you should be aware of that. Early stages, we don't want too much, but once we get serious, we're going to ask you for a full budget. We're going to ask you for a production schedule. We're going to want information about your director, your producer, your writer, and we really go over that carefully. And at any time during that stage, we can say it's not working. But we don't do it casually. We're not going to do it with a producer or director who we're not interested in, because a lot of work for us too. But we are going to bear down on all those things. And we have all sorts of requirements, including, to go to the CNN example, we have a very high bar for factual accuracy. And all our programs are looked at by Smithsonian reviewers. So we got to be absolutely sure that anything you do for us has real veracity and integrity to it.
Thank you, David. JC.
Yeah, David stole a lot of my thunder there. Yeah, so I'm going to second everything he said. And unlike, I think, everyone else, we have a large development team. We have people on the West Coast. We have people, me, and my boss, and a couple other people here in New York.
About how many do you think on your...
Oh, it's endless, feels like.
How many? A thousand?
Millions. There's a million people that work in NetGeo. So there's about 8 of us here in New York doing different things, whether it's production, we have EPs, we have a line producer, LA is a growing team. One thing Howard Owens and David Lyle did when they took over was kind of branch out to the hubs of production and development, which are New York and LA, and we never had a team there before. So now we have New York, LA, and 2 teams in DC. For the New York team, we meet on Fridays. All the pitches that I take and our team takes come in, we discuss them, and then once they go, whatever survives out of there goes to our bigger Greenlight-ish meeting that happens in DC.
So how many meetings get presented at that, how many pitches get presented at that Friday meeting on average?
Ooh, if it's a slow week, maybe 7 or 8.
And then how many, you have a monthly or a weekly?
We have a weekly meeting that occurs in DC with all the teams. And then, you know, Michael Cascio, who's the EVP, Howard Owens, sometimes David Lyle, where they kind of decide what they want to move forward on.
And you shared with me some numbers about the success rate of your pitches. Out of 100 pitches, how many do you estimate by some metric are actually greenlit?
Depending on what you consider a green light, whether it's development deal, we give some producers $50,000 to develop a tape, develop a concept out, to get shoot tape on the characters, or to pilot or to series. It's somewhere between 7 and 10% on the high end of what kind of moves forward for us.
So 7 to 10 pitches out of 100 move forward in some way to the next level.
Yep.
I know we're running out of time. We've got only about 4 or 5 minutes left, and we don't really have time for Q&A. But I just wanted to quickly run down, once a project has been greenlit and it's approved, just really quickly, what is the most common killer of the project? Where is a producer, particularly a new producer to your network, most likely to mess it up? Paul? Or doesn't that happen at H2?
No, it happens. What kills it after it's greenlit?
Yeah, after you're getting ready, you're in production or in pre-production.
A false bill of goods. So if you don't actually have the access you touted, if the tape that you delivered is not representative of what that really is, if the character you're presenting is not at all what is described, or if the production quality of the sales tape, this actually happens quite a bit. People present a certain level of quality in the production of a tape, sizzle tape, and then they don't actually execute it to that level. So that's what will kill a project in the middle of.
JC, you got your microphone out.
No, I was going to say something, but yeah, David Lyle has this phrase, and he says we've been sizzled, which is kind of what Paul's saying, is that you see this amazing tape, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, and then you start to get into it, and you realize that there's no show there, which is terrifying.
And some of them got on air too.
Fortunately, sometimes, yeah.
I think that's a great phrase, actually, being sizzled. I think the other thing that happens in sizzle tapes is people use great music tracks. And it's very, very easy to look at a sizzle
Very
reel.
expensive music that would never make it into the show.
Absolutely. And you're swayed by the music. And you had to watch for that, because then you get the show, and of course it has needle drop or whatever it is in it, and it has none of the pizzazz that it had before.
Claudia, what kills an approved project?
Well, actually, I think it's the access. If you sort of promised an access and the deal has been signed and it shows that you don't have the access that you sort of promised, then that definitely kills
Jennifer.
the deal.
Access, character, all the things that were said here. Additionally, we can get, if we get into something and the standards and practices aren't there, or we have a sort of a hiccup with the journalism, it stops it cold. So, I mean, I think that when anybody who comes through my door, or anybody who, any project I look at, I answer 3 fundamental questions every time. Why this? Why you? Why here? And those things have to, those are my watchwords. It has to fit. You can be the only one who can bring it to me, and that we're your proper home.
That's great, Jennifer. Listen, before I finish off, I wanted to do 2 things. I want to say the video of this session is going to be available courtesy of Eli Brown, who is a very distinguished filmmaker himself over here, and a good friend from who I worked with at Santa Fe Productions. So it'll be on my website, documentarytelevision.com. Secondly, I'm leading a delegation here of Singaporean producers, and I'd really like them to quickly stand up if they're here, because they have travelled a long way, and they would like all the friendship and hospitality and camaraderie that you can offer. Thank you so much. And then finally, I really wanted to thank, what a fantastic panel. Thank you so much, and I wish we could do this all over again. Thank you.